Welcome back to the Super Design Bowl post-game report. I'm your host, Billy, and here's my lovely co-host, Aaron. Okay, Pants. Sechrist. How's it going, Aaron?
Good morning, Billy. I'm doing well. How are you?
This is the earliest I've been up in ages. Can you tell?
Same. Well, you're a father, so I just assume this is standard dad operating time for you.
It was, but now my kid's 5. And so she'll sleep in. She'll probably interrupt us halfway through this thing. I'm probably going to wake her up.
That's good. I don't have anything to live for, so I don't really roll out of bed until like 10 a.m. Eastern time. So this is
the life of like a comedian.
Sorry?
Of a comedian, right?
Right.
They work nights, basically.
I don't. Well, I live nights. I don't know if you can call it working nights, but I'm alive at night.
Are you saying you're not turning on the Adobe Creative Suite?
No, I get around to it. I get around to it at some point during the day, just after probably 11 a.m.
You're kind of depressing me a little bit. Do you need an intervention?
No, I need to record this show in the afternoon. Is what I would like, but that's just not the way life works. So I'll get it together. Sorry.
No, let's get it together for our guest. We got Kendrick Kidd and we got Drew Millward. These are 2 amazing designers, and they for some reason they decided to agree to do a Bulls logo for us. So let's bring them on and let's talk about these logos. What's up, fellas?
Hey, good morning.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us on this morning. But for Drew, it's already in the afternoon for you.
It's 11 minutes past 1 p.m. Yeah.
Okay, so you're going to be bringing it for the rest of us, okay?
No.
Yes.
That's peak operating hours.
Very much not. It's a very sluggish day today.
So when I tried looking up, when I tried scheduling this and figuring out the time zones, and you live in a part of England that is sort of best described as Middle Earth, sort of.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Middle Earth, north of the wall, etc. Yeah. It's nice. I like it here. It's good. Yeah. We're very, very lucky. Yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, is it a walking town, or do you have to have like a car where you live? I'm just curious. I've never been to England.
I live in a very small village, which is in the Aire Valley. So we are we're lucky. We've got a train station in the village, so it's like half an hour on the train into Leeds. So that's a big metropolitan city that no one can go to at the moment because of the plague, etc. It's
oh, you guys got the plague too?
Oh yeah, we got the plague.
I had no idea.
Oh, we got all kinds of plagues. We keep getting new ones.
Yeah, Drew, you should have left the plague out because you were one dragon away from me wanting to like move over there because it was sounding delightful and magical.
The major problem is that we have a frankly useless government. This could have all been put to bed a long time ago. But
Can't relate.
Exactly.
Yeah, our government's really got it together.
So. Yeah, we got this shit sewn up, man. So we're doing great.
You seem to be very much in the ascent in terms of leadership, whereas we've got years of this to come.
Oh.
So that's nice.
Well, we're all in this together.
Yeah, it's a global thing. It's infected the global village.
Yeah, the fact that like for instance South Korea and New Zealand like really were effective and had their shit together. Just like it's depressing because it could have been done. It could have been better.
Yeah, of course. And I would say probably for us, much more than you, we're a small island. We had a vote like 4 years ago.
Yes,
where people were banging their drums saying, "We want to close our borders. We want control." And when it comes to actually closing the borders, they're like, "No,
Not really,
leave it.
though.
Let's leave it a year. Let's see how it goes. Let's just bring them in. Bring them in.
They still wanted
Bring
a
them in.
vacation in Italy.
It's absolute. The entire thing is crazy. Yeah. So we got the pandemic, and then we got the Brexit thing as well.
Yeah. So from one crazy part of the world to another, in Florida, we got Kendrick. How you doing, Kendrick?
Doing well. Doing well.
So where in Florida exactly are you?
Oh, I'm in the South Georgia portion known as Jacksonville.
Oh, Jacksonville, South Georgia. So what when you say that means
That means we're
not cultured like Miami.
no, it's weird. Like Florida's like an inverse state, right? And I feel like the further south you go, the more northerners you find, and vice versa. The more north you go, the more south it gets.
Okay. But at least you have the weather.
Yes, we do have the weather. It is quite nice right now.
Excellent. And I'm quite jealous of that. So let's talk about these. Let's talk about our matchup and talk graphic design, which everyone loves to do. Look at this, the magic of the internet. This was a really fun matchup. And I think you guys both did an awesome job, despite what the voting, how the voting went on this one. But I think, and what do you think about this, Aaron? I think the voting ended up like this because I think people are accustomed to seeing a certain type of logo for a sports team, and they weren't ready for what Drew was laying down.
Yeah, sports design folk, definitely nothing about the outcome of this showdown surprised me. The output of both gentlemen here surprised me in the best possible way. Like, this is my favorite matchup because of how bipolar the two designs were. But no, I don't. I think that I'm not surprised at all because people like familiarity, and sports folks especially like familiarity. They like incremental updates to things as opposed to taking the TNT to a mark, starting all over again and going in a completely different direction, which is what Drew did. So while I think both of these are awesome and super effective, I kind of love how Drew just swung for the fences here.
Yeah, truth be told, Aaron and I both actually voted for Drew. Sorry, Kendrick.
Jeez.
But I think that's because
oh, that's cold.
But I think it's because we had an understanding that your design was going to appeal to a larger audience. So I was like, okay, let's just go for the FU design, right?
Well, I think that first of all, Kendrick, you did a fantastic job, and you definitely, the changes you made a classic logo
Absolutely.
better.
Yeah.
But I being me loved how Drew just went straight into fucking outer space with and Drew, it's a wonderful mark, but yeah, it's hard for my sensibilities to not vote for Drew on this one. But both you guys, super solid stuff.
Actually, before we get into these, let's talk about the actual Bulls logo. This Bulls logo was designed in 1966 by Dean Wessel. Dean was paid the handsome sum of free tickets to the game to design this logo. He was the neighbor of the owner of the Bulls and a designer in Kenilworth, Chicago, which is where I got married, which is a really like fancy, rich neighborhood in north of Chicago. But this logo hasn't been changed since 1966. So there's something to say for it there. What are your hot takes on the actual Chicago Bulls logo?
I mean, it's a classic, man. For being designed that long ago, I feel like a lot of it's kind of held up. Just the simplicity of the mark. It's got a lot of attitude. Feel like it reproduces well. So it's like that combination of like communication and like practicality for like reproducing It's just, I don't know. It's just good.
Yeah, I think there are some detail issues with it, right? Which I actually think you addressed in your logo, Kendrick.
I was about to say the same thing. I think any issues that I have with that logo are resolved, and it is about the line weight.
Yes,
that's completely been sorted.
That's the glaring issue is the line weight. Like it works okay at this size, but you know, if it goes small, it just needs a big, and which you see in a lot of sports logos now. They got big fat outlines around it, but this one actually kind of needs a big fat outline around it.
I think it either needs a big fat outline around it, or it needs some shaving down for those lines that go down the sides of the snoot, so to speak. I'm not a great animal expert. I'll call him Snoot. But this logo does something very interesting to me that I don't think any other logo in North American pro sports does. The tips of the horns, the red on the tips is actually supposed to be blood.
Yeah, when I was doing research, I realized that too. I never even occurred to me that is actually supposed to be blood on the horns of the bull, which is.
I mean, I owned multiple pieces of merchandise as a child with this logo and this mark on it. But only until a few months ago did for whatever reason, I was researching it. It was blood, and for as sensitive as audiences are in a modern age, it's kind of surprising to me that the NBA is cool with it.
Yeah, I think the fact that it's not like drippy blood.
Yes.
It's super stylized. Like I love the way it's sort of rendered in that way. So it's probably that it doesn't look like this thing just impaled a matador or something. It's cool, but.
And I'm assuming they're called the Bulls because we have the Bears, and you have a bear market and a bull market, and. I should have researched that part of it, but I'm sure it's some sort of a nod to the Bears, the Chicago Bears.
It's not.
I just hope it was arbitrarily pulled out of someone's ass, like that. I think like one night it was like a booze-soaked evening where they're just like, "Well, we can't be the Bears. What else is tough? Bull, fine, fuck it." Sorry, Charlie. Sorry. Earmuffs.
She can't hear you.
Okay, cool. Fuck it. Anyway, shit. You should always do this at 7 a.m., man. It's. I don't like researching anything. I'm the worst designer on earth. I just like to believe that boozed up billionaires just decide to do shit sometimes, and here we go.
And they do.
Clearly, in the middle of a pandemic, we've learned that. So,
am I to understand that the team is not made up of actual bulls? Then
they have one bull on the team,
right? Okay.
He's the master.
You've answered the question then.
Yeah.
So like he is a really good baseball playing.
Well, he doesn't get in the games, unfortunately. He rides the bench.
That's a shame. He sits in the goal mouth. Yeah, I know.
I also have some issues with the typography. It's a little, I don't know what you call it, a little Western, a little unkerned, a little. It doesn't quite match the logo.
The kerning is pretty for being around as long as it has. It is kind of haphazard, huh?
A little bit. The
CAG,
it's really bugging me there.
Well, I'm glad we hit you guys up then, because this shit sucks.
No, it's a cool logo. So what I love is so we look at this sort of. I don't know if someone designed this tomorrow, I think everyone would be like, that's okay. But the fact that it's been around since 1966, it sort of has. I mean, it's cool, but it's not like I'm not going to lose my shit over it, right?
Let me jump in on that. Okay. I think you would lose your shit because this was rendered by someone that had to be able to illustrate and couldn't lean on the shape tool in Illustrator. And like this,
no, you're right.
This, if you came to a 23-year-old today and you said, I need something in 2 hours, I don't think it would be this good.
No, I mean, this is crafted like all the. it's everything's where it's supposed to be. I agree. It's well made, but it's not like, the lines are too skinny. Okay.
Sure. Yeah, I mean we'll get into it here.
Yeah. But let's talk about Drew. Let's get back to Drew's logo. This is awesome because when I looked at this one, I imagined in my head how amazing this would be, like on the court, on jerseys, how just different and innovative and amazing, because whereas before the bull had blood on its horns, now it's like an actual demon from hell, and it's on its flames and its smoke, and I love it.
Well, I think like the inclusion, taking the black away and punching that with this burgundy, this dark maroon color instead, and then the inclusion of the yellow definitely takes it to an angrier, more demonic place, which I appreciate. But it also has, like, with this salmon pink color, it kind of has like a bit of a psychedelic vibe to me, and maybe that's with like this steam and the smoke coming out of this snout. Man, I'm all using all kinds of technical terms today.
Well,
I just really like
Drew
the notes.
Gonna have a psychedelic.
Yeah, like I like the notes that it's hitting with this stuff.
So, Drew, as someone who famously doesn't care about sports, why did you agree to do this logo?
Because you asked me so nicely.
And I kept asking. I kept asking over and over.
Yeah.
I was persistent. I'm sorry.
I was love bombed into it.
The truth is I am a huge fan of your work, and the opportunity to do this Super Design Bowl is an opportunity to get some new ideas and new voices into the sports branding lexicon, right? So Drew, amazing illustrator, and I was like, well, what the fuck? Like, this would be amazing to see what he would do. And then the same with Kendrick, amazing designer and illustrator, but not really hasn't done his sports branding type stuff. Like, it's not really in your portfolio, but I could, But what was your creative process when you're sort of thinking about this, or did you just do your thing? I don't mean
No, I didn't think about it. There was no thought process whatsoever. I find that sometimes works best. No, I genuinely don't. I don't care about sports whatsoever. I certainly have no frame of reference when it comes to American basketball teams. So,
but you do know what a bull is, right?
I have seen one.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay.
We have those here.
You do?
Yeah.
Oh,
there's some that live just over the road from me. Like I say, we're quite rural here. It's quite nice. Yeah, we got some bulls. I had a chat with them. What they thought, and they were like, "Wow, I've never heard of this either." I was like, "No, me neither."
You mean there's some of us playing basketball?
Yeah, this is it. They were as surprised as I was. But I think it's kind of it's. I kind of approached it in a way that it was. It's a clean slate. It's the same way as designing posters for bands that you don't like.
Mm-hmm.
It completely frees up what you can do. You can often bring more to the table, working with bands or brands or clients that are outside your sort of frame of reference.
This is not something precious or dear to you at all.
Yeah.
No. I mean, I like. I mean, the flip side of that is the fact that I am completely drawn to sports design and logos in general. It's kind of it's kind of weird. So I guess I'm an illustrator, but I'm much more fascinated with design than I am with illustrators.
Well,
So,
I think it's an ideal position in a way where you know, when you're on the outside and you're
Yeah.
detached in that way, you can obviously this is what was produced, so proof is
Yeah.
in the pudding.
yeah, I mean, I looking at it now, there's things I'd change and whatnot, but then again, it was done quite quickly and without any sort of care. So,
Well, it was
what do you
clearly-
want? What do you want?
it was clearly done with care, Drew. How much time would you say you actually spent on this?
I would say under an hour.
Okay.
Nice.
It wasn't.
So back to your point.
It wasn't labored over.
No, back to your point where you said you really didn't think too much about it, and it sort of, you know, to paraphrase, it kind of fell out onto the artboard. That to me is like the most successful stuff. The stuff that I love the most that I've done are those things that feel kind of like jazz. You know, when you just start, you know, tickling the ivories, for the lack of a better term, then you just let things fall out.
When you're on your own.
I relate
completely agree. I think a few years ago, I'd kind of drawn myself into a corner, and so much of the work I was producing was so sort of labor intensive. It sapped all the joy out of it.
Yeah.
I was like, I can't carry on like this.
Well, in posters, there's sort of like the detail war.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and you don't want to fall into that because it's not good.
If you feel like you're muscling it, it will really begin to fall off a cliff.
Yeah, there is that kind of expectation, I suppose, there of like I say, you when you get to that point where you're spending hours or days on a poster, and at the end of it, you just feel like you've overworked it.
The grind.
You've not enjoyed making it, so it's kind of like I say, I kind of stepped away a little bit, and I put on a show of work that I kind of made just for myself and stripped everything back to a point where I enjoyed making work again, and that's kind of stuck with me, I would say, for the last few years.
Good,
because it's made me. You realize what you enjoy doing and where your strengths are. So it's kind of, and doing things like this that are kind of like little standalone projects are really fun to do because it's not sitting there for days on end. It's sort of the thought process probably takes longer than the actual making, and that's equally as valid. So yeah, it's good fun.
Kendrick, do you ever get sort of bogged down in the details, and it becomes less fun for you?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like a double-edged sword because I feel like I'm attracted to things that are very detailed.
Mm-hmm.
Like I love those kinds of pieces that you can look at them, you know, half a dozen times and not really take everything in. You know, you get something new every time you kind of view it again. So it's like I gravitate towards that stuff anyway. But to Drew's point, I mean, you can go down a rabbit hole and just work something over and over and over again. And it's like at a certain point, like I've been in those projects before where you get like halfway through it and you realize that you're overworking it, but you're so deep in the overwork that you're like, God, I just got to keep going until I reach the end of this thing. And then I'll pull a bunch of stuff out at the end and make it the way that it should have been in the first place.
It's like sort of starting to eat a meal that you know you don't like, but you're going to have to. It's like, well, I'm gonna eat all of it. So
I can't put this shit back in the freezer.
I'm stuck with it. Otherwise,
I'm gonna go bat it out there anyway. We're gonna choke it down.
Yeah, you know, I think if I were to pick any logo on our site to like wear as a T-shirt, I think Drew, your logo would be the one, because it's like, I mean, this could be for the Chicago Bulls, but it could really just be for, you know,
it doesn't look like sports, you know.
Yeah, it doesn't look like in a good way.
Kendrick,
yeah,
again,
it could just be advertising Bulls.
What's up?
It could just be advertising Bulls.
You know, it's like I go back to. I don't want to keep recycling my own material on this show, but like I got beat up in high school by the jocks, so I should not give a fuck about sports as a punk rock adult. But like,
yes,
wearing this would make I would be fine wearing this because it feels like how I would approach sports related design, and it feels at the same time like I don't give a fuck about your sports.
Here's what I propose, Drew. Since I live down the street from where these guys play, let's make the shirts. I'll go to the stadium. I'll sell them outside the parking garage, and we'll split the profits.
Yeah, I'm game for that. I am all up for. I will not see any bootleg merchandise for any kind of bands, but certainly sports. Couldn't give a fuck. Yeah.
Well, Drew, there's in Cleveland where I live, there's an especially large legal bootleg market for the sports teams. Like, it's a real thing.
Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah. Well, I think it happens over here, but I don't know because I don't. I don't care. I don't know any frame of reference. I don't know. I presume it does. I think I have seen that sort of thing happen. But yeah, I think scarves. People make scarves, like football scarves. That's
that's a thing. Yeah.
I've heard the words football and scarf used together.
Those look great. Those look great.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's move on. Kendrick, let's talk about that. Let me hear what was your thought process going into this? Before I give you my hot take.
Don't fuck it up. That was my thought process. You guys touched on it before. I mean, American sports, I feel like people are pretty passionate about their logos. And, you know, you guys had mentioned it before, incremental changes seem to go over better than just complete departures.
That's absolutely, I believe that to the deepest part of my soul.
Yeah. And I get it, right? There's a lot of legacy attached to franchises. You know, you're not just talking about a single generation that's kind of experiencing this and holding it close to them. You know, it's like multiple generations. So you get a really strong reaction, I feel like, whenever there's any kind of change. So I more or less, I took a look at the existing Bulls logo and I was like, picked out pretty much the same thing that you guys did with the line weights.
Yeah.
Them being a little bit thin and wispy didn't really make as much sense. Like I don't know, it kind of felt like weak, right? Yeah. But the bolder lines reproduce better, gives you kind of like a stronger, more sturdy mark. And then I just kind of played with it from there. But like I didn't expect to be as nervous about it as I was, particularly the Bulls, right? Because the Bulls is like this like legacy franchise. You freaking Jordan and Pippen played for them. They've got so many championships. Like, I feel like that crowd was just going to eat up and destroy anything that, you know, we put in front of them.
But so here's the thing. I don't know why you were nervous, because, and I didn't realize this until after I became intertwined with you in this project here. It sounded odd. Your followers on like Instagram, they love you. The comments that you get are just they're sycophantic in so many ways. I don't know. You're a rock star to these people. It was crazy.
I pay them a lot of money for that.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Kendrick did numbers with this one.
Yeah, seriously. Here's one of the things I find so clever and interesting about the logo. You simplified it, you cleaned it up, you thickened it up, you moderned it up a little bit, like it's a little more geometric. You know, the line across the Bulls, the horn at the top is really cool. But what's really interesting, and the thing that makes it not boring to look at, I don't mean like your design would be boring to look at, but I just mean design in general. The fact that you've subtly hinted at a light source is really smart. It's something that I almost never do because I'm sort of, I don't know, simple-minded, I guess. I'm just an idiot. But the subtle light source is really smart on this thing.
It introduces a bit of a mood beyond the standard thing that was presented.
Thanks. I appreciate that. I love light sources. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I like to. I don't know. I think a lot of the illustration and brand work and stuff that I do, I try and think about that a little bit. So I appreciate you guys noticing it.
Well, you did make this also more family friendly because you took the blood out of the horns.
You did take the blood out of the horns.
I didn't know that was blood. I thought it was just like the color of the tips of the horns. I should have built it in.
But I think, like all the changes you made here and presented with this definitely improved the whole mark for sure, and even how you've compressed the nostrils in the bull's snout, I think was real smart. And I don't this thing's very airtight. I don't have
it's way more sturdy.
Sturdy is the perfect word for it.
Yeah.
So but is it boring? Right? Like, I feel like whenever you go through these like these incremental updates with sports logos, you end up dissecting subtleties, versus like really it having like an impact or an impression. And I suppose that's why the incremental stuff goes over better, is because it's less jarring.
Well, but the incremental stuff that you did, when a lot of these teams trot out their brand updates and they make a big dog and pony show out of it, they're like the most microscopic updates. If this was presented tomorrow to the public as the Bulls' new logo, it'd be pretty drastic, in comparison. You took like the three lines that go across the forehead of the bull, and you sort of simplified that down and chopped it into the brow. And I think that looks, really sharp. And again, I would have no problem wearing this as a t-shirt either. There's not a lot of. That's the ultimate test for any logo, period, especially sports, where if I look at it and go, well, I'm not from Chicago. I'm not really even, I'm not a fan of any teams outside of Cleveland, but I would wear this. If I didn't know what this was, I would wear a shirt of this, no doubt.
Nice.
When you started working on this, do you start with the sketch or did you use the old logo as AKA the sketch?
I used the old logo as the sketch because I knew that I wasn't going to take it in a completely different place. It was just more about taking what was there and kind of updating it a bit. So
I guess I'll jump in with, if for the sake of good radio, if I had criticisms of this mark, I would say you didn't push. If it were mine, I would push the lighting, the shift in lighting and shading a little harder. Whereas, in his bottom lip, how you sort of begin to imply there's some shading going on the right side there, I might have pushed that and chopped it up more. The bull's left cheek, I might have made that red drop smaller to imply that shift in lighting. But it's real nitpicky stuff.
Yeah, that's one of those things you could noodle with all day long.
Yep,
for sure.
Okay, so Kendrick, how long did you spend on this? No, it's not like a judgment based. It's I'm genuinely.
No, I think it's an interesting question.
I probably spent the first time maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours, somewhere in that range, and then I came back to it the following morning and probably spent another half hour on it.
Do you guys have a who's your go-to? Hey, look at this. Does this look right to you in your life?
Drew?
No, you got
the Bulls.
You don't show anybody a work in progress of anything you're doing?
No.
Drew, you don't take your laptop down the street and just show the Bulls out in the field, like how's it looking?
Sometimes, they're my sounding board a lot of the time.
Yeah.
That's why I lost this competition, and I will be taking the feedback will be going directly back to them.
We're just gonna have an animated meeting with those guys later today.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna go and kick the shit out of them. Is what I'm gonna do. They really gave me some poor advice.
You need a strong circle, man. You need a strong circle.
Yeah. No, I tend not to show anyone.
Really?
I tend to just I feel like especially at the moment where it's there's only my wife and 3-year-old child here.
Yeah.
He hates everything I do.
He does.
My wife, I suspect, would be bored rigid of me But I mean, we get that a lot from. We bring stuff home from nursery, and we have to be polite about stuff. So
Yeah.
I'm sure she doesn't want to have to do that with me as well.
I think one of the reasons that I grew up as a designer or artist or whatever you want to call it is, when I was a kid, I got that adrenaline hit of, it's like a comedian who gets his first laugh. The first time you make some artwork and your mom or your teacher is like, or the girl you have a crush on in class, thinks it's really awesome, right? So you're always looking for that approval. You're always looking for that endorphin of, they like me, they really like me. And so I love showing work in progress to people, because I want to hear their honest feedback, but I also just I just need that. I'm addicted to the praise.
That's a pretty good point. I never really think about, especially with Instagram and social media, is like there is that total that you're chasing the dragon just to get shit out there, just because you're just like, I want someone to see. I just want someone to see. Someone love me.
Of course. That's why you can. That's why if you got a good sob story, I could call Kendrick and get a logo for $100, because he just wants to. You know what I mean? Like we can all be taken advantage of because we love to be loved.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was going to say, if you think about what we do for a living, though, it's commercial art, so it's meant to be seen. It's not meant to be, shoved in a drawer where nobody but, the cat sees it. I feel like all the work that we build is meant to be put out there and, I guess, experienced in some way, right?
Yeah, no, that's the nature.
But I guess there's the difference, though, is, Drew, the artwork that you're making, a lot of it is actual artwork. But like, Kendrick, and Pants, like when we're doing stuff, like sometimes you're making artwork that's supposed to communicate to people where the end goal is to sell another widget so the CEO can buy another house. You know what I'm saying? Like if you look down the rabbit hole far enough, it's a little depressing, It
is.
Yeah, but it is what it is. I'm fine with it. No, it's, just because you're making commercial jingles doesn't mean you can't obsess over, the notes you're hitting at the end of a chorus and stuff. It's
no, you can, but if you look behind the curtain and see who the Wizard of Oz really is, you know what I mean? Like it could be depressing.
It can be depressing if you're working for assholes. Like, I am not trying to sound like Johnny Cool Guy, but it's like the people that I do work for and with, there's a belief in what they're doing. I'm not.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. I didn't design the "Make America Great Again" hat. Like it's it's like contrary to popular belief. It's good.
Yeah, I mean, I've done stuff for McDonald's and like.
Yeah, I've done some of it.
Yeah, I hired you to do some McDonald's stuff. But
I think that's kind of like I was saying before, like I would say my influences and interests fall way outside art and outside illustration. I'm much more interested in I suppose it is commercial art to various degrees, but it's the stuff I enjoy making the most is stuff that has a purpose, I guess.
Yes.
It's kind of whether that is, I mean, it posters or anything else, but I kind of, it's like I am fascinated much more with that side of things, with advertising, with sort of ephemera, than I am with illustration. Is certainly the world of art, which I graduated in fine art, and that entire world I have no interest in. It's just a solitary, self-indulgent wank most of the time. So it's just a bit dull, isn't it? There's no real reason.
No, amen to that. I think there's too much. The best thing and the stupidest thing about art is that anybody can do it. And when there's too much freedom there and there's no rigidity or boundaries to it, I tune out, because I'm like, well, what the fuck did I just spend half my life building skills for. It's just not a race that I enjoy running most of the time.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think you guys are preaching to the choir here. I mean, that's why we're not painting these logos, right?
Well, I can't fucking paint either, so to be fair, there's that.
So three of us have kids. How are you? Do you wish that your child would, or your dog, Aaron, would like follow in your footsteps and take a career in design?
Right? No.
Nah.
No. But would it break your heart if they were like an interpretive dancer or like someone who like made like art like really bad art?
I'm kind of hoping he becomes a plumber. I kind of I think that is the best. That's the best trade to have. It's like everyone needs a plumber.
It's true.
Everyone needs a plumber.
Everyone needs a plumber quickly. So you can charge sort of emergency call out charges, and you're never going to be out of work. He can do anything else. If he trains to be a plumber, then chooses to be a fine artist, then whatever.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I wish I'd learned a trade.
It's never too late.
Well, okay, so we're all artists and designers here. Like, I am the product of two adults that worked very square, very normal jobs, and that, accounts payable and a policeman. So it's like what came out of that was an artist that goes by the name Pants by other adults. So if I had a kid, would they grow up to be like a plumber or work a very sensible job like an electrician? I don't know. Maybe you immerse your kids so much in the thing you want them to have, and their sense of revolt is to do the exact opposite. That's why I would expose them to the most boring possible shit as a child.
Yeah. Well, I've got him filing my tax returns to. He takes care of all the paperwork now.
That's a good deal.
So, to get back to this logo real fast, Kendrick, I have a nit to pick. Okay.
Pick it.
Okay. And maybe you can explain. Maybe there's a rationale behind my nitpick, and I should just shut the hell up. So you went to great care to sort of round all your corners, right?
Yep.
But there's a couple that are not.
Yes.
Right, like here and here. Is there a it looked weird to have it round here, or it created a weird depth issue if I rounded it there, or did that just miss the net?
That's probably the extra half hour that I didn't spend on it.
Yeah. And I hate doing that critique type of part of it because it makes you just sound like a dick. But I think it's actually interesting for people to sort of, like students or whatever that are watching this. So hopefully you don't take anything personally. But I think it's a really successful. You know what I think was, apart from the technical aspects of the making of the logo, I actually think that your bull is angrier, which I think is a great. His eyes are bigger, so I think it draws you in a little bit better, as opposed to the old one where it's a little
more
stoic. He's a little wall-eyed.
See, that's so interesting though, because I felt like because the brow was lower on the original, he looked more pissed off to me.
Maybe I don't know, but
maybe it's the third line in the forehead.
No, you might be right, but maybe I'm really drawn to the bigger eyes, and I think that helps. That helps a lot.
It's just a bolder read overall.
One of the things that I like so much about the Bulls logo is it's kind of in that upside down triangle shape. When I'm thinking about like apparel, I always think about the torso and like what shape's going to fit the best on a shirt, right? So wider shoulders, thinner waist.
Yeah.
And it always, I don't know, like that upside down triangle, I always feel like fits really well.
Yeah, you know,
on
I
the
never think
apparel.
about it that way, but I just designed a comic book logo that is the same. It's sort of the same deal. Of course, if you wore this on a shirt, you're gonna look terrible. It's gonna give you a real pot belly. Kidding, of course. Well, I want to thank you guys immensely for doing these logos. Just because I asked you politely, and as artists, we have a hard time saying no. But I really appreciate it because I think they turned out awesome, and I love the conversation that it sort of starts about what should a sports logo be, right? And I think they're awesome.
That's the biggest win of this conversation here. Is like this is maybe my favorite showdown so far because it's two drastically different approaches. And then again, it goes back to the question like, well, what is sports design? What should it be? So
yeah, I would kind of love to take Drew's logo and actually put it on a jersey and on a court and see what it actually looks like.
That thing,
you know,
15 feet wide in the center of a court would look fucking amazing.
It would look amazing. Yeah, it would look so cool.
I just honestly, man, like I love the idea of taking something that is like so precious to like so many people and doing something completely different. I mean, you could have like a whole artist series based around sports teams and just different people's interpretation of what that looks like. And they would all be wildly different and it would be interesting. You'd probably like net a bunch of money because it's just so left field, you know?
Yeah, I completely agree. And what I think is interesting is I love the fact that, Drew, you didn't kowtow to what you thought a logo should be, which I think some people will do in this. Like, because I'm asking other people that don't do sports things too, and I'm curious if are they going to give us the Drew Millward, or are they going to give us the Drew Millward, you know, in drag? You know what I'm saying?
No one wants to see that.
No, this was the two very, very successful different sides of the same coin.
Well, I think we did it. I think we exhausted this conversation, guys.
It was a good one for me being on like 5 hours of sleep.
Yeah, me too. And I'm gonna go, and my wife's gonna be like, "You woke me up way too early. I hate you." So I'm gonna go do that, and that'll be fun. So thanks a lot, guys. I really appreciate you guys coming on the show, and let me know if you guys want to design another stupid sports logo.
Absolutely.
Great work, guys.
See you guys.
Take care.